TG Geeks, episode 304, December 14th, 2020. To boldly go home. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane. We're coming to you from TG Squared in lovely Phoenix, Arizona, where it rained the other day.
TG Squared where? Just TG Squared?
TG Squared. Yeah. Did I not say studios?
No.
Oh. Okay. TG Squared Studios.
Okay, now it counts.
In lovely Phoenix, Arizona, where it rained the other day.
Yes, and I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from where winter is finally here.
Yeah.
In TG Squared Studios.
In TG Squared.
In it.
In it.
Yes, winter is in the studio.
Yeah, well, it was this morning when I had the doors open.
God, yeah, it was freaking cold outside. For us, I mean, anything below 60 is just bitter.
Exactly. And we're just going to get on with it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, we are going to talk about our recent rewatching and completion of Star Trek Voyager. And we'll have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, and everybody's favorite feedback. I guess everybody's favorite feedback.
We're told that people really enjoy it.
And our shout-outs. And in our second segment, I don't know what we'll...
I have an idea or two.
And then our weekly recap, and then our regular shout-outs.
Our weekly recap.
Yes.
That's the recap that reeks.
In a chalice, yes, yeah. Full of moss.
It's an old clay pot.
Yes, it's the chalice that reeks. And here we go. Well, Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah.
Came right after...
DS9.
Right after DS9, actually, as DS9 was wrapping up.
Well...
last season, wasn't it?
There was crossover.
Yeah, there was some crossover.
There was crossover. I remember that because the whole bit with the Maquis actually happens before the Dominion War.
Right. So
and that lasted a couple of years.
Yeah, so there was crossover between TNG and...
Initially,
and Voyager, or actually Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager.
And it was Next Generation that actually really spun off the whole thing. That's where we first learned about the Maquis.
Yeah.
And that's all because of a new alliance with the Cardassian Empire, and boy, hilarity ensued.
The Kardashians?
Yeah. Boy.
Yeah. I wish that
I'm
never
not
happened.
going any further with that.
So anyway... I made a couple of notes here. Overall impression of the whole seven... Well, let's just give a couple of pointers here. 7 seasons, 170 episodes.
Yeah.
And lots of different characters that came and went. Primarily, the bridge crew, which were, Kate Mulgrew and... Dave,
it was Robert Beltran.
And all of them. Roseanne Dawson,
Yeah.
she was engineer, and Robert Duncan McNeil, and Robert Picardo, and
Garrett
Wang, and then they introduced in season 2. Wasn't it in season 2 that they introduced Jerry?
Oh heavens, no! Much later.
Was that season?
It was like 5.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that late.
It was pretty. It wasn't that early either.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have all of them. Did I forget anybody? Let's see the picture. Did I forget anybody? Oh, of course, Neelix, and then
There was Cass,
Cass, yes, and Tuvok.
right?
Shoot, what's his name?
Shit, I'm looking it up right now. Let's see. Tuvok was Tim Russ.
Tim Russ, right. God, how could you forget? And then there was, he was listed on virtually in IMDb in every episode as Tariq Erijan, who was Lieutenant Ayala. He literally, he was tagged on at the bottom of each episode in IMDb as being in the episode. Of course, Majel Barrett did the computer voice.
Right.
And but 170 episodes, that's 7 seasons, was quite the it won 7 Emmys, 26 another 26 wins and 84 nominations. It shows a 7.8 IMDb rating. So what did you think overall about the series?
Yeah, I was surprised because I remember going into this with some reservation, only because I did not really care at first when I saw the show starting the first time. And when the show premiered, I don't think you and I... No, because it premiered in 95, so we had not met yet. So I watched it on my own and was meh. Yeah, according to this, it premiered in 95.
Really?
Yeah. According to IMDb. So we hadn't met. So I initially watched it on my own. I remember watching the pilot on my own, and I thought the pilot was okay, but remember thinking back then how much I really disliked the Kazon. I thought as an enemy they were just such a mess because there was nothing right about them. I mean, they kept as characters go and as a race goes, they kept talking about how the wonderful technology that the Federation and Starfleet has, and yet they managed to, every time there's a confrontation, it always seems like they gave Voyager a run for the money.
Yeah.
Which I never liked.
With bad technology.
Yeah, really bad technology. So I never cared for them. And then there were others, like the Vidians.
Yeah,
which were disgusting.
Yeah, they were
They're just
disgusting.
gross.
They were awful.
But overall,
yeah.
I actually, when we went into this, I remember even saying after like the 3rd episode, I thought, I'm enjoying this a heck of a lot more than I thought I would.
Right.
And that, for the most part, that kind of held through. I mean, there were some episodes that I just cringed and bit my tongue and muscled through it because I didn't care for them all that much. But overall, I think my impression of this series has actually gone up.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember watching, I don't know how were we watching it on a rebroadcast? Because I know that we watched from the beginning together. I don't recall.
No, not the first time.
Wow.
No, I've only watched it through. I mean, there were a couple of episodes here and there, including the pilot, which you and I have watched multiple times. But as a series whole, this last time was the only time that you and I watched it from beginning to end together.
Interesting.
Yeah, but we have picked out.
Yeah.
We cherry picked episodes over the last several years that we've liked to watch because there was something interesting about them. Our favorite Bride of Chaotica,
yes,
as well as some of the Borg episodes. So yeah, and we've even watched, like I said, we've watched the pilot, The Caretaker, several times, as well as the finale. So yeah, there were episodes that we cherry picked, and we watched those repeatedly because there was something about them that we wanted to see, or there was just nothing better to watch at the time.
Right. And so, last time versus this time, you liked it much better this time.
I did. It held up a lot better.
Even as much as I despised the Kazon, I could get through those episodes.
It was easier
without saying, "Oh my God, do I really want to watch this?"
Yeah,
I mean, the first time it was like, "Oh my God, they were so horrible."
They were dreadful. But this time, I was actually able to get something out of it, a lot more, like the different Kazon factions.
Right.
I thought that was kind of interesting. So there's something about their structure which I thought was fascinating.
Right.
That I very much enjoyed.
Exactly.
And well, I remember the first time we watched it. When we started watching the series together, there was one episode that you and I just really balked on in a bad way.
And this time it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't as offensive.
It wasn't as offensive, but it still kind of agitated me. They could have picked a better. They could have written a better ending, and that was something that I noticed, that in this series, the writing was really at times inconsistent.
Yeah, and I think
and they'd start with a great story, and then all of a sudden it's just like, da-da, we're done.
Yeah,
or they would just leave it on a. There was more to be said, but they never said it, or never even revisited it in the entire series.
Yeah,
when it was something that was life-changing.
It could have been. Yeah, I remember, I want to say either I think it was the 6th season that you and I universally, we just both said the writing here is generally not all that good. There was a lot of bad writing, a lot of idiot plot. Those were tough episodes to get through.
Right.
For the most part. I mean, there were one or two that I thought they stood out.
Right.
But most of them did not, and I wasn't sure what brought that on, because the 7th season was a huge improvement.
Right.
And I thought the series ended very strongly. But yeah, there were periods where I thought the writing got very sketchy. But again,
for the most part,
yeah,
it was inconsistent, but there was also a consistency to it as well.
Well, yeah, they're consistently inconsistent. Well, the one thing that I was going to say regarding that one episode that we didn't like all that much, because I remember we just boycotted Voyager.
Yeah.
At that point, we stopped watching, and then we picked it up. I don't know how much later.
Yeah, I know, but the weird thing is there are so many episodes that I don't remember ever seeing at all.
Ditto.
And I know we watched the whole thing. So
the first
at
time,
least from the time that we started watching it together.
Well, we stopped. I remember that we stopped after the one Neelix episode,
right? But
because you and I were offended beyond belief.
But then after that,
we waited a while.
We watched it, regularly.
We stopped. I don't know how long we stopped, but then we picked up again at some point, and then we did barrel all the way through to the end. So there was a chunk of episodes that we did deliberately not watch because we were just very foolishly angry at the time.
Yeah.
And this time we decided, let's power through it. And I'm glad we did.
Yeah.
Because it allowed us to see episodes. Actually, there was one episode that made up for the whole Neelix debacle.
Right.
Which I was really, really happy about, involving Janeway discovering what maybe spirituality is really all about. And that to me was just one of the most powerful episodes I'd ever seen. It was such a revelation to see that. So I'm glad we were able to kind of get through that. But episodes that I know we did start watching or we had watched the first time, yeah, I've got no memory of the first time around.
Yeah.
I'm like baffled. How do I not remember that one?
Exactly. So what was obviously Bride of Chaotica?
I think Bride of Chaotica is definitely going to be the big standout.
The big favorite.
Yeah, because that one is just so comedic.
And exactly. What was your favorite mini arc or?
Oh my! Wow, mini
what
arc?
was the or series of episodes that kind of fit together, if not loosely?
Oh my goodness, I really hadn't given this much thought because I don't think they were really playing much with the mini arc at the time. The idea of the mini arc didn't really come into development. Well, they did do some of that in DS9. I don't remember them doing much of that here. I don't know if there is one.
Well,
I can't think of. What about you?
the Borg children.
Well, yeah,
I mean, that was kind of a mini arc.
I suppose you could call that a mini arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But
And I
then
did like that a lot.
But then they slowly began to abandon them.
And left us only with Icheb.
Yeah. And then what did we find out? I mean, it's like they even abandoned him at the end. For the most part.
Well, we got one quick glimpse of him in the finale, and that was it. He was just like there, and then he was gone.
I know.
And then we don't hear from Icheb again until we get to Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, and so I think those were the kind of the favorite and the least favorite kind of all combined together is what happened to Icheb and what happened to Seven of Nine after they all got home.
Yeah, that's a big question. I think a lot of people like to know that.
So we don't find out until Picard.
Yeah, we get to Picard,
I mean,
and even then, we're still left with this mystery.
30 years later.
What happened during the 30-year, intervening years? I'd like to know myself.
How were they accepted? How were they treated? I mean, it's just there's so much story left to tell there.
And I had always said that as much as I did enjoy Voyager Endgame, I thought Endgame was a very good episode, except for the ending itself. They're back. End of story. And I kept thinking, there's not really a proper resolution.
And
yeah, because I feel like there's something
exactly
that's not being said here.
Right.
And I've always felt that. Every time I've watched it, I keep feeling
they should have.
You needed another 5 minutes.
They probably should have ended it with a one-off movie.
That may not have been a bad idea.
As in the series, do the one-off movie kind of like they did with TNG, and then you wrap it up, effectively.
That might not have been a bad idea because I think I would have liked to have seen. What does everybody do now that they're back on Earth? I mean,
right.
I'd like to see more of Tom and his reconciliation with his father.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they hinted at it a little bit.
And B'Elanna and her reconciliation with her father.
Her father, exactly. And now, oh, hey, Admiral Paris, guess what? You've got a Klingon daughter-in-law. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And you're a grandfather to boot. So and then, of course, as you said, Seven and Icheb.
Right.
I mean, those are very interesting characters. We know that Janeway's going to get a promotion.
Right.
She becomes Admiral by the time we get to
and
Star
we know
Trek Nemesis.
that Harry Kim finally gets a promotion.
I know, he finally gets that bloody promotion.
He stayed an ensign for the entire series.
They did try to explain that, and I'll give them a little bit of credit.
That was horse hooey.
I agree. I think it was rubbish. I was like, so there are only so many lieutenant positions available per starship.
Hooey.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. So so you have to wait for a vacancy.
Freaking bridge officer.
I know, and he's considered a senior officer.
Exactly.
I find that laughable that an ensign, just because he's a bridge officer, makes him a senior officer. I've always found that questionable. But hey, I don't write the show.
Yeah, I think that there was also some pieces that were lots of pieces left on the table, if you will.
Yeah.
But we also know that at this time, Paramount has always had this semi sort of okayness hate relationship with Star Trek. It's not love hate.
No,
it's all about it's
just a cash cow to them.
Yeah, it's a cash cow, and the fans must be getting tired of it, and they must not like it anymore. And we've made that decision for the fans. No matter how the fans are reacting, they don't know what they're saying, they don't know what they're doing.
Which sadly, that is true because I've heard that from the mouths of both Ron Moore and Brandon Braga at a Creation Con. I've actually heard them say that we're not making this show for you. We're making the show for the people who are not the fans, or at best, casual fans. We're not making it for you diehards. And I've heard other people say the same thing. You know, Jeannie Koch, who is in marketing, has said, you know, these shows were never meant to be made for the diehard fan. They've been made for the, at best, casual fan.
Well, then, who the heck is servicing the fans?
Well, they clearly weren't at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that shows.
And I think that's why it just ended the way it ended. And, you know, maybe that's why some of the writing was suspect, is, you know, there was all this fighting going on of, are we going to keep the show? Are we going to cancel the show? Or you've got, you know, a day and a half to come up with an episode and write the whole damn thing. And, you know, it just, and then the way it just kind of, boom, okay, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it's very possible.
because after Voyager was done, it was how many years before?
Wasn't that
Enterprise?
long before we went into Enterprise? Because Voyager ended in 2001, and Enterprise also began in 2001. So they jumped from one series into the next very quickly.
It's something new, and that's probably where they were expending all of their dollars, you know.
Yeah. And Enterprise, well, we'll get to that subject, because we just started the rewatch on that.
We'll wait to that.
Yeah, because we'll have a lot to say about that show.
So how do you feel now that series is over, and how did you feel when we watched the last episode?
Well, I think I covered a lot of that already, in that I felt the last episode did not deliver a proper denouement, if you will, that at least would be satisfying to me.
Right.
I thought it was exciting. You know, great way to end the show. You bring back the Borg. Alice Krieg as the Borg Queen. Oh, yeah. Great touch. Of course, that continually adds questions as to how does the Borg hierarchy actually work?
Yeah.
You know, I know that the Queen was introduced because when the studio wanted to make Star Trek First Contact and they wanted to use the Borg, they figured having just these zombies wasn't enough. They needed a figurehead. So then they kind of went with her and decided to go with the idea of the insect colony, she being the Queen. But Data asks the question. He wants to understand the hierarchical structure. And I'm like, yeah, I want to know it too. Because I want to understand how it is that, you know, Janeway, you know, Picard beats the Queen twice.
Right.
He apparently he does it at the end of Best of Both Worlds Part 2, because in First Contact he said that she was there. And then he beats her again in First Contact, back in time on Earth, and yet here she is again in the 24th century, and Janeway beats her again. So there's a lot that I want to know.
Twice, doesn't matter, or 3 times.
Well, I don't know if she won, but I don't know if she actually physically defeated the Queen the previous times.
Yeah,
I don't think she did. But this was a very sound defeat. And again, I want to know how does the Borg function? So there's a lot of questions still that I'd like to have answered on that. It was still thrilling. I enjoyed that a great deal. I thought a lot of the characters were handled very well.
It's just a bunch of queens running the show.
Is that it? Well, Brian Fuller was there.
Anyway.
But no, I did like it. Yeah. I did enjoy it.
I felt sad, though.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed.
It was like, my family is just
well, we
left,
do that. You know, this happens with every single Star Trek series.
Yeah,
I don't know if we ever.
Same thing with Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was
we definitely
sad.
got. Oh, I was wrecked when Deep Space Nine came when we finished on that rewatch.
Yeah.
I was just devastated because I had really grown to love each of these characters, and I thought their final episode with the entire cast and crew inside Vic Fontaine's lounge was such a great send-off. So they didn't quite get to do that same thing here, but still, you've got these characters that you've really become fond with. I mean, we'd already said sort of goodbye to Neelix, even though he put in an appearance. You know, and we've seen how the other characters have grown. B'Elanna became a much more rounded person. Tom had matured a lot. Tuvok had become less stoic, if you will. I mean, and then we saw these other characters. We saw great growth with Seven. And the one thing that I loved, I think most of all, was the friendship that developed between Janeway and Chakotay.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Oh, and the Doctor's growth. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. What can you say?
I know it was great. I mean, I felt kind of sad that it was over, but I hate to borrow this phrase, but all good things.
Exactly. Well, that's what we thought about Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah.
You don't need to hear their identification. They're the Two Gay Geeks. They can go about their business. Move along.
And here's a few selected birthdays for December 14th, 2020 through December 20th, 2020. December 14th, Patty Duke. Actress in The Miracle Worker, Valley of the Dolls, The Patty Duke Show, married John Aston. Mm-hmm. It was thought for a long time that Sean was John's son, but it turned out to not be, but he still looked at him as his father. She was actually bipolar and wrote a book about that. Mm-hmm. And was considered for Janeway on Voyager.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Wow, that must have been very early on.
I had to put that in there,
That had to have been very early on.
Exactly.
Because I never, because then it must have been dismissed at some point. I'd like to know.
They were probably throwing a lot.
I'm sure they're throwing
a lot of
around.
names that we've run across that they've, were considered for Janeway. Then we have Dee Wallace, actress, E.T., quite a number of other things. She was in Grimm, like 4 or 5 episodes of Grimm. And
I actually don't remember her being in Grimm.
Yeah, she was Alice. Anyway, but she considers E.T. to be her generation's Wizard of Oz.
Well, I think that's a very fair thing to say.
Yeah. And then Cheryl McKee, a former coworker of mine. December 15th, Charlie Cox. Daredevil. He had not read any of the Daredevil comics before he received the role, and is now a big Daredevil fan of the comic as well as comics in general.
I loved, I liked the way he played the role of Max Murdock, but Murdoch, but I don't like the way he was necessarily written.
Right.
They took some very strange directions. I personally, with the character, but I still enjoyed him a great deal, and it looks like we'll get to see him again.
Yes. And he also did not realize that his character was blind until the day before his audition.
Oh, what?
Yes.
How did he not know?
Well, they didn't tell him, and
that's true.
He wasn't a fan of the comics.
That's true. It audition. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Right. It's not like, oh, we're about to go into production now. Oh, by the way, you're blind.
Exactly. Freeman Dyson, theoretical and mathematical physicist. His thought experiment of the Dyson sphere is the subject of the TNG Relics episode.
Yes, it is.
Somewhat controversial figure in some of his thinking on climate change, though.
Oh, really?
And interesting thing is that a couple of his papers, and he's pretty bitter about this, were rejected by Enrico Fermi at
no kidding.
University, at the Fermi Lab.
The Fermi Lab?
Yeah. So interesting there. And then we have Julie Taymor. Julie Taymor is a
genius.
A genius, yes. What do you call her?
Well, she's a production designer.
Production designer, yes. And she did one of probably the best magic flute productions.
Oh, for the Met.
That the Met does.
I agree. It is
she
the
does
finest.
a lot of puppets and things like that. She was also involved in the one Madame Butterfly with the puppets.
Oh,
there.
that was hers too?
I
can see that.
That was hers, yes.
I can see that. And she's also done, stage plays, movies.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's
quite a bit.
Very well versed. But it's the magic flute production of hers that I think is to me, that is her
Yeah,
triumph.
it really is great. And then we have Brian Dorn, who is a classmate of mine, and Margot Bronstein.
Happy birthday.
And December 16th, Kristen Ritter. I had to put her on here. Actress Jessica Jones. She was raised on a farm, but was forbidden to ride a horse. So she rode a cow named Jake.
Oh, my goodness.
Plays guitar in a band and is an avid knitter.
Okay, that I didn't see coming.
I know.
I mean, everything else. Okay, the bit of the cow, that was funny. Being in a rock band, I could see that. I mean, she really typifies that. But then knitter.
Yes, exactly. Ludwig van Beethoven.
Moving on. No, just kidding.
Yes,
just kidding.
Composer of orchestral pieces, but devoted much of his output to piano.
Oh gosh, yes.
His music spanned the transition from classical to romantic period. Was a pupil of Haydn, but did not care for his methods. But Mozart loved Haydn and called him Papa Haydn.
Right.
It was probably because he made him write string quartets as exercises, which he only wrote a few of.
Well, there seems to be some, I don't know if it's apocryphal, but Beethoven's father apparently imagined his son being, like the next Mozart, then hooking him up to Haydn because Haydn and Mozart were acquainted. I think that kind of created some resentment.
Probably. He wrote 9 symphonies and 1 opera and...
thank God, only 1 opera.
A few string quartets and a ton of piano music.
Yes.
Concertos, sonatas, little ditties.
I think people I know my mother loved him mostly for his piano concertos. But to me, it's his symphonies.
Yeah.
I think his symphonies are absolutely breathtaking, especially his 7th.
Oh, you don't like the 9th?
I'm a little done with the 9th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Philip K. Dick, sci-fi author, wrote 44 novels and 121 short stories. His work explored the nature of reality, perception, human nature, and identity. And quite a number of his works have been turned into movies, such as Blade Runner, Minority Report, Total Recall, and the series Man in the High Castle.
Yes.
Yep. He actually did not, he wasn't a very good with his finances. So he lived in relative poverty and squalor most of his life until several of his scripts or stories, like Blade Runner, were picked up. And the last couple of years of his life, he actually had enough money to live comfortably.
Oh, well, at least the last couple of years of his life, they were comfortable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he was bohemian.
Yep. December 17th, Eugene Levy, actor. He got his start with SCTV with quite a number of other people like Catherine O'Hara. And, several of those that he still works with.
Oh, yeah.
He's part of that troupe that does those like Best in Show and Mighty Wind. And,
Mighty Wind, I think, is probably my favorite of that bunch because of the work that he does with Catherine O'Hara, and I'm not just talking
and Christopher Guest and Harry Shearer, all of that, whole group.
It's not just the comedy; it's also the music. I mean, we're also talking very, very talented musicians as well.
Yep. And he's currently Schitt's Creek features his son Dan Levy, who is gay and plays a gay man on the TV series, and they shine a light on the gay community and portray it in a very positive light.
Yeah, and a lot of people in the community were just in tears, very moved positively by how the series ended.
Yeah. Bill Pullman, actor, Independence Day, owns a ranch in Montana with his brother. He and his wife started the Hollywood Orchard, a charity that grows and gathers fruit to donate to families in need. Then we have Facebook friend Carrie Leal.
Oh, she was a singing partner of mine back when we were in junior high together.
And Rhonda Dela Cruz. December 18th, Steven Spielberg, director, producer. My gosh, what do you say about Steven Spielberg?
I mean, the man has had how many #1 movies?
Oh, yeah. He is actually one of the most wealthy director producers in Hollywood.
I don't doubt it.
in the world.
I mean, the man has had so many phenomenal hits. I mean, you look at Jaws, you look at E.T., Close Encounters, but then he'll turn around and put out a phenomenal movie like Schindler's List.
Oh my God.
That is one of the most powerful movies I've ever watched in my life.
Did you know that he attended Arcadia High School here in Phoenix?
No.
Yeah. He, I think his family moved west from, he was born in Chicago, I think, and then they moved to New Jersey, and then to Phoenix, and then out to California.
Huh.
And too many films to list. Oh my gosh. Then we have Cicely Tyson, actress, Autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, which she won an Emmy for, and she's the first American woman to win an Emmy for best, actress in a leading role, and was nominated for an Academy Award in 1972 as only the second time that an African American woman had been nominated, and she was actually nominated with Diana Ross at the same.
Oh wow!
At the same time, yeah, in 1972. And then we have my cousin Kelly Pitts. Happy birthday, Kelly! December 19th. Hopefully, I can get through this. Let's talk about Robert Sherman first.
Okay.
Wow. One of the Sherman brothers that was created so many of the wonderful songs.
Oh, yeah.
For Disney.
I think he was the lyricist primarily.
Right.
And his brother Richard was the musician.
Yep. And then we have Tyler Clementi, a student at Rutgers University who was cyberbullied by his roommate.
Oh, no.
At the age of 18.
I know who this is.
He felt there was no other choice.
He had to kill himself.
But to jump off the George Washington Bridge.
Yeah, that was so awful.
His death received a lot of media attention. Mm-hmm. And sparked some changes in policies at Rutgers.
Good.
As well as new legislation require schools to enact policies against bullying.
But boy, I mean, it should never have had to come to that.
Right.
I mean, the poor man had to die in order for that kind of recognition to finally take place, and it's a shame that we have to be in a reactionary mode as opposed to being proactive.
Exactly, and that's exactly why we run the two spots.
For both Trevor Project and Trans Lifeline.
Exactly. And then we have a classmate of mine, William Brackeen. Happy birthday, William. He was actually one of the 6 people that had perfect pitch.
Oh, really?
In my
it's
music theory classes.
It's rare to have one, and you got 6?
We had 6.
My God. I mean, what are the odds of that?
I know.
And you were in that class?
I was.
That's why we never win the lottery.
Exactly. December 20th, John Hillerman, actor, Blazing Saddles, Magnum P.I. He was Higgins and turned out to be the Magnum's benefactor.
Yeah.
He played the butler, but turned out to be the benefactor, actually. And then we have Robert J. Van De Graaff, physicist at Princeton and MIT, developed the Van De Graaff generator that was once used in particle accelerators, but has pretty much been relegated to hobbyists and sideshows now.
Yeah.
So,
well, like that one show we saw as part of CocoCon.
Yep, exactly. There was a Van De Graaff generator, several types in that. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counselors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
Well, it's time for our feedback, and each of the items in this feedback segment that we'll be talking about will be featured in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com, starting with regarding TG Geeks episode number 302, and this is one where you and we kind of spoke at length about the TV series Grimm, and got a first comment from a good friend of mine, Julie Marshall. She says, I love Grimm. Oh, yay! That's nice to know.
I love that was such a
great
show. Oh my
I
God.
love that show so much. And then we got a comment from my friend Darren Anderson back in England. He says the Grimm TV show, was that the one, the fairy tale with the horror twist? If yes, then it ended up here with only 2 seasons on ITV.
My gosh.
Like so many great USA fantasy shows, you spend your time channel hopping, hoping to find out which UK station brought the show, or that it might end up on Netflix years after it was shown on TV. Well, that's terrible. You know, I'm sorry you guys only got the first 2 because
Oh my gosh.
it is such a great
only
show.
Gets better.
So I would say, Darren, if you can have access to Amazon Prime, if you can see that,
Probably is there in the UK as well.
I would hope so. You might want to check it out then because it is on Amazon Prime. That's how we watched it. Then I got a comment from our good friend Corey Lynn Nelson. She says, you so rekindled my love of the TV show Grimm that I started rewatching it again last night on Amazon Prime Video. Great to experience those first episodes as our hero Nick learns more about himself through Monroe. Yeah, and that was a lot of fun.
Exactly.
Wonderful. I've been watching 3 to 4 episodes a day, but I'm unemployed, so time is not tight for me. Totally agree that a reboot or a follow sequel would be fantastic. The show is rich with possibility. Even if they didn't focus on the Portland crowd, but the history and families abroad, not unlike the NCSI variants. And no arguments from either of us here. Then moving on, regarding Ben's breakdown of the Frasier episode, The Apparent Trap. We got a comment from Eric Alexander. He left this for us on Twitter. He says, have you heard of a Frasier reboot that might be coming? No, I have not heard that. Not sure if I want to hear about that. Because to be honest, I don't think anybody could really outdo Kelsey Grammer.
No.
On that. I mean, and David Lloyd Price, or David Lloyd Pierce. David Hyde Pierce. David Lloyd, I don't know where that came from. No idea where that came from. Anyway, David Hyde Pierce. I mean, the chemistry between those two was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And then we got a comment from Janiz. This was on Facebook in the Gay Geek group page. And he said, great breakdown from a great show. It wasn't for everyone, but that's part of its appeal. And I couldn't
it was a little
more.
highbrow sometimes.
It was. Well, you know,
but also really reached the depths of really low.
It could get
humor.
very low. The humor could get very lowbrow. And I sometimes think that's when it was its funniest. And then regarding Russ Emanuel launches Indiegogo campaign for new film Staycation. Got a comment from Russ Emanuel. He says thank you for us sharing the PR. And then regarding Matcha and Vanilla drops original Christmas Carol. Got a comment from Hamish Downey. And he says thanks to TG Squared Studios for sharing the first teaser single from the original soundtrack of Matcha and Vanilla. I'm so lucky to have their support.
Well,
and
of course, Hamish.
Of course, Hamish.
Always
Naturally.
good.
Of course you're going to have our support. I mean, you help us out all the time. And that is what we ran on our website this last week at tggeeks.com.
Well, that's our feedback.
Thank
That's
you.
not
Feedback.
what we ran on.
No, we'll get to
We'll get to that in a minute.
Well, no, we didn't run it last week, but we did run it on our website.
Yes, we did. If you want to leave a comment on anything, whether it's an article or it's on an episode, you can do that. And you can do that on our Facebook page because everything publishes to Facebook. You can do it on our website, tggeeks.com, or you can do it on Twitter and Instagram. All of those places have places to comment. You can comment there. We'll pick up your comment and we'll read it on air. We also want to hear from you. If you want to leave us a voicemail, you can do that by calling 469-TG Geeks. That is 469-844-3357. And we always have to say, because we received a comment this week that I had to edit because they didn't play nice, we always want you to please play nice. Why is that so low all of a sudden?
I have no idea.
I don't know. We are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Filmmakers, yes.
Thank you, Sylvester.
I don't know, my first day with a new mouth, Have to go in and get
Is that it?
You have to go in and get those things fitted, so I hear. You can't just order them through the mail. Anyway, please talk about independent creators to other people that don't know about them. Talk to those creators yourself, the comic book artists, the writers. Chat them up. Go to their Facebook pages. Go to their Etsy pages. Go to their web pages, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of neat stuff. Please show them your support and please buy their stuff. Please consider supporting independent creators. The Joshua Tree Feeding Program, we always run this spot every episode because it fills a very important need within the community. It's a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They offer a place where the clients can select from a wide assortment of nutritional foods to take home, and they set it up like a store so that the clients can pick what they want so that no food is wasted. Please consider supporting Joshua Tree Feeding Program either through a single or a monthly recurring gift, and you can do that. You can sign up at jtfp.org. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
So I got a thought, and this kind of came to me. And the only reason I'm thinking about this is because we kind of stumbled onto this just starting last night. And, of course, we're in the holiday season, so we're doing a lot of our holiday rewatching. And I had picked out, for our major movie last night, The Man Who Invented Christmas.
Yeah.
We got that recommendation from Jeannie Koch, and I love that movie.
Oh, my gosh. It's
so
a
good.
Great film.
That is such a great movie.
Yeah.
It's you can see it on Hulu. So if you have it's actually a Showtime movie, but if you have the Hulu account, I highly recommend it. That it stars Dan Butler.
Dan Stevens.
Dan Stevens, thank you. Dan Butler was on Frasier. Yeah, it stars Dan Stevens as Charles Dickens, and holy moly,
and Christopher
Plummer as a fictitious Ebenezer Scrooge. I mean, the movie is wonderful.
Yes, it is.
I absolutely adore it. But what came out of that, I decided afterwards to watch a Doctor Who episode. it was sort of a Christmas episode called The Quiet Undead, or The Undead Quiet Undead. Pardon?
Yeah.
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 And it's about Charles Dickens, post A Christmas Carol, but now he's seeing ghostly apparitions in real life.
With Simon Cowell.
Yeah, Simon Cowell.
Who is in The Man Who Invented Christmas as well.
He played the artist for the book in that movie, and now he's back playing Dickens, and that's another reason why I wanted to watch it. And then we
scared the Dickens out of me. Oh.
Really? Right. And then today we watched the Christmas Vacation, Christmas Invasion.
Christmas Vacation
Yeah,
Invasion.
the Doctor Who Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I got to think about that one. No, the Doctor Who episode, the Christmas
We may
Christmas
take a
Invasion.
Christmas vacation from Doctor Who this year.
Oh, yeah, but we won't get into that. We'll get into that later, maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, we've been kind of like taking a look at the holiday Doctor Who specials. And I'm just kind of, wondering, now that we're looking back on those, because I think this is really the first time we've actually watched them since their initial run.
Yeah. We've watched, there's a couple of them we've watched a couple of times, but not repeatedly.
No.
Most of the Christmas specials we haven't
No, in fact, most of them
really revisited.
No, we haven't. We've just watched them the one time and we moved on.
Yeah, but it's kind of nice to go back. This one that we watched, the Christmas Invasion, was I guess, was that the first? Well, no, the first Christmas special was where they introduced Christopher Eccleston.
Was it?
Well, that was, it was Christmas time because it was the Autons.
I didn't realize that was Christmas, though.
Yeah, I thought it was. Wasn't it?
Well, it might have been. I haven't watched
Maybe
the
I'm
episode
confusing-
Rose in a long time.
Maybe
It might very well be.
Anyway.
I haven't watched Rose in a long time, so I don't know.
Sycorax, where he loses his hand and then grows it back.
And it's post regeneration,
Right,
Because
and
he
David
just
Tennant.
regenerated in the previous episode, and now I got David Tennant.
Yep. But I think some of the Christmas episodes are really good. Actually, this one didn't feature what's his name, who's been in all the Christmas episodes after this one, Bernard.
Well, we haven't met him yet.
Yeah, right.
Well, we will meet him coming up in a David Tennant episode, and then
Right.
we meet him again, at which point we then realize, oh my God, he's Donna Noble's father.
Right. And
We
then
don't know
he's,
that yet.
And even after Donna goes away, he's still in the Christmas episodes.
Yeah, he does pop up here and there. Well, I think it's because he's such a beloved character.
Right. Anyway.
But aside from that, I mean, as Christmas episodes go, I mean, do you think that kind of does it get that sense? I mean, I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, as an episode, I did like it, but
Yeah.
as a Christmas episode,
Yeah, well. Whatever.
does it hold up?
Yeah.
Barely. I mean, you've got
It just happens to be happening at Christmas
yeah,
time.
it feels more coincidental than anything
Yeah.
else, and I noticed that when we were watching it today. I was hoping it would have more of a Christmas vibe to it.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite have it. I don't know if any of them do until you get to Matt Smith's era.
Right.
And then I think they start to feel very Christmassy at that point.
Yeah.
But this one, it was okay. I mean, it was fun to watch. I enjoyed it. Might take a look at some others throughout the coming period before Christmas.
You never know.
And now we finally get to the weekly recap that I so falsely alluded to earlier in this episode. And these are the things that we did run this past week on our website at tggeeks.com. And we will have the links for each of these items in the show notes for this episode number 304 at tggeeks.com, starting with Sunday, December 6th, Nerdy Chupacabra number 25. On Monday, wow, that says Monday, January 7th.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't do that. Monday, December 7th.
It says December 7th
Oh, now it does. Imagine that.
How did that happen?
I can't even begin to fathom.
But my cursor right there.
Yeah, your cursor was there. Yeah, I could see that. TG Geeks episode number 303. On Tuesday the 8th, Ben's Holiday Breakdown. Jingle All the Way may not have you laughing all the way. You can kind of think how I feel about the movie. On Wednesday the 9th, Andrea's Angle. I'm Your Woman has rich characters but is slow on pacing. On Thursday the 10th, Andrea's Angle. Wild Mountain Time is both perfectly Irish and perfectly charming. And I do just want to say that, yes, even though we are still in quarantine, we are getting screenings. And these are 2 new movies that have just come out that Andrew reviewed. So you might want to check those out.
Yeah.
And then on Friday the 11th, Impossible to Imagine, a review by Craig Hoffman. Do you want to kind of give a little background on that one?
That is a movie by Felicity Tilak, who Hamish Downey was a producer on this film, and we ran a press release for it way back when it was being released a year ago, 6 months ago,
right.
Something like that. So Craig gave us permission to rerun the review on our website.
Which was wonderful.
Yep.
And then we close off the week, Saturday, December 12th, Ben's Holiday Breakdown and American Christmas Carol. What a wonderful movie that was. And that's what we ran on our website at tggeeks.com. Have a couple of shout-outs we need to make. First, to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News for republishing our content from time to time. It is put up by the human Arkle, our good friend Brian Weber. You can find the Post-Dispatch News by finding him on Twitter. Do that by searching for Arkle, at ARKLE. And you can also search for Arkle on YouTube. He has Arkle Studios. Brian has a number of his projects there. His Shameless Cash Grab series, his Rants vs. Zombies series, as well as his game videos of Trick and Treat, as well as Star Trek Online. And we must also give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, Two Gay Geeks After Hours. When I asked if we could share our content there, they said, please share away. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours. And that's all one word. And then 2, The Gay Geek for the same. And you can find them by going to URL facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. And as always, we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we can be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio for a replay on 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays. And listen to their other content. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can listen to our article and surf the internet, or listen to our episode and surf the internet at the same time.
Oh, those rented lips are a bitch.
They are. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We'll have several links on the page of things that we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to each other. Stay home, stay safe, stay sane. Peace.
Cheers.